Yes, hello tradies. Welcome to the Air Raid Zone. Mitch and I get to come off the long run and speak about something footy related, but not trade related. It's for HBF Health Insurance, your insurance dream team. Make the move today. Mitchell, I'll let you take the new ball.
Well, just watching the Dan Houston incident last week, I think it's time for and I know I'm not the first person to have said this, I won't be the last, but it's time for an MRO overhaul. I think the game and the nuances with the game are changing, but the MRO matrix and guidelines haven't changed with it. So I think it's time to bring back the 3-tiered structure. Now we've only got careless and intentional. I reckon there's a world where we can look at careless, reckless, and intentional like we used to have.
Yep.
Because if you're looking at face value, Dan Houston gets 2 matches for something that could have put Lockie Fogarty in hospital. And then the week before, Ryan Mansell gets 3 matches for a push that, 9 times out of 10 wouldn't have concussed a player. He got unlucky in that situation. Yes, he did something that was reportable, but it was purely outcome-based. So I think Michael Christian right now is left with no other options. What he's grading right now is sitting within the matrix, and you can't really blame him. But I think there needs to be more nuance thrown into this where, is there a lever that can be pulled that Dan Houston is that? It can go up by 1. The Ryan Mansell, is there, because it was more of a footy action and it was more of an unlucky action, yes, he should be suspended, but instead of 3, it can be a lever pulled and it goes down to 2. Also, is it time to reconsider the bad record? We used to have it 10, 15 years ago, bad record and loading on players. That's the second time in the space of, 4 or 5 games played that Dan Houston has done a similar action, got high in a bump, and he's just lucky that Lockie Fogarty wasn't taken off on a stretcher. Is it time that, there's a lever pulled where Dan Houston gets an extra week given he's done a similar action in the recent times? I just think it feels broken. I know everyone's had their say on it, but I just thought it was worth raising in light of the last 2 weeks we've had. As I said, Michael Christian can't do much more than what he can right now, but I think the rules need a bit more fluidity in them that can allow for different suspensions, because right now we're not getting it right.
Yeah, it's a good call. It felt like 2 he got off quite easily.
Yeah.
Like for the action. I think most people watched that action and went, what is he doing?
But under the current rules, there was no other way to give him any more than 2. It was in the play, so it's careless. He didn't get concussed, so it can't be severe. So the max it was under the current rules was 2. But if you throw in bad record, which they don't right now, and if you throw in, the action more so than the outcome, I reckon there's a world where people would have been comfortable with Dan Houston getting 3 for that incident. Yeah,
I think I'm arguing against myself a little bit here, but the outcome has to be part of it, right?
Yeah, it does.
It does. So. To use a much more serious example, if the man that Noah Bolter had hit outside that pub had, God forbid, hit his head on the concrete and something much more sinister would happen, then he would be looking at completely different charges. If you run through a red light, Mitch, at 3 o'clock in the morning in an empty street and no one's around and you don't hit anyone, but you get done by a camera, you lose, 4 points and $400. But if you did it at 8 o'clock in the morning, and again, God forbid, hit someone, a pedestrian, hit someone in a car who was seriously injured or worse, then you're looking at jail time. So, the outcome has to be part of it. So I do feel for the AFL to some degree with this, because I think it's very difficult to get to the perfect system.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I just think right now it's too far weighted that way. I think outcome should come into it for sure, but I don't know if you remember, and I'm getting really micro here, but remember the Justin McInerney bump on Brandon Starcevic at the SCG earlier in the season?
Yep.
So Brandon Starcevic is concussed, but that incident would happen 15 times a game. It was basically a brush. He had no intent to concuss him there. Brandon Starcevic unluckily was concussed, and it's 3 weeks. Now, I would say what Dan Houston did on the weekend was far worse, and Justin McInerney in that scenario got unlucky. Yes, the outcome comes into it. I just think there needs to be more levers that Michael Christian can pull.
I like it. I like it a lot. Something that I don't like is the AFL's obsession with trying to revisit incidents and justify umpire decisions or not decisions.
Okay.
I mean, firstly, it's inconsistent because I don't do it with every decision ever. And secondly, it's unnecessary. So I don't like the Rankin one on the weekend. I was watching that game live. It definitely didn't feel like a mark, but it did feel like a free kick watching it live. But again, I'm watching it from a great vantage point. I'm not at ground level. I don't know exactly where the umpire's positioning was. From me, knowing me personally, that I'm a big umpires guy because I just don't understand, what the benefit is in having a crack at umpires. Go down and watch a game of local footy on the weekend, whether it's under 11s or whether it's senior VAFA footy. Umpires are smashed from pillar to post from across the other side of the fence. It's embarrassing. It's humiliating. It's a really terrible part of Australian culture that has crept into sport. It's not like that in a lot of other countries. It's incumbent on us to set high standards. And the AFL coming out and saying that the Adelaide Crows should have been awarded a free kick late in that game doesn't do anything to help the reputation of the umpires. So don't do it. It's really simple. You don't have to justify every decision to every person in the crowd. You just don't. It's a 360-degree game. There's a lot of free kicks all the time. And if you want to go down that road, Mitch, then do it properly and start reviewing every single decision, get cameras involved, start stopping the game, and watch it turn into the English Premier League, which, as Ange Postecoglou said last week after they got done 1-0 at Stamford Bridge by Chelsea, the VAR's ruined the game. Well, we got to be careful that we don't want to ruin the game. I think it's bad enough that we're turning over goals from feather touches from Snicko, which are causing, players, am I celebrating? Was it definitely a goal? Let's wait for the goal review. I just think we've got the most beautiful, pure game. It is the best game in the world. It is free. It's, I know I take the piss a little bit out about other sports, but honestly, watch a game of rugby league. There's two guys in straight lines running at each other. And then watch a game of AFL. It's you couldn't even vaguely compare them as to what the better game is. So please don't ruin it. Please don't. And don't give complaining clubs like the Crows another leg up to cry about another decision that didn't go their way. It's just we don't need it. Stop doing it. So message to the AFL. You are not here to please everyone. You're here to run a football game. Please do that.
Yeah. I sort of agree. I think it's either all or none. I think they've almost created a rod for their own back though, because we all applaud the umpires when the whistle's been put away in the final stages, and So if that was five in the first 5 minutes rather than the last 5 minutes, it's a free kick.
Totally agree.
I don't think it was a mark. I think it was more a free kick. So yeah, I think they've created a rod for their own back, but I think they needed to come out and say something, given how it was like that.
Why though, Mitch? Though, why? For what reason? Why do they need to say something? You can't change the past.
Well, I think it would have been just like the elephant in the room for a whole week if they didn't, wouldn't it? Like it's just.
Okay, let me be Laura Kane for a minute, and you ask me the questions about the end of the game. So I'm doing a radio interview with you or TV interview, and you're asking me.
Laura, should that have been a free kick or a mark in the final minute of that Crows Suns game?
Well, Mitch, I completely understand the question. I mean, it was a great game of footy. Isaac was involved in a marking contest late in the game. Look, I haven't had the chance to ask the umpires or take a good look at the vision, but one thing I can guarantee to you is that we'll look at it behind closed doors like we look at every single decision, and we'll come to a resolution as to whether it should have been a free kick or not. But we don't feel the need to announce that publicly, because once we start doing that, well, then we should be talking about free kicks that should or shouldn't have been in the first 5 minutes of the game. So we're really happy with how it played out.
So you're telling me you're not doing your job, you haven't communicated with the umpire, you haven't watched the vision?
Well, the game's just happened, so you're asking me a couple of minutes after. I'm obviously looking over 9 different games. So, no, I haven't had the chance to talk to the umpire about it. Now I'll have a meeting, as I do every single week, with the umpires department. We have the best officiators in the game, and we also have the hardest game to officiate in the world. I don't think anyone would dispute that. So there's literally hundreds of decisions that are being made every single week by our umpires. We'll check his positioning. We'll check if he had enough communication from the other umpires, and whether he's made the wrong decision or not, that will come to light for us internally. We don't feel the need to communicate that externally, because that would be starting a dangerous precedent. But again, it was a great game, and I'm not sure anyone would dispute that.
Do you need more people in your footy department to work through these things?
Okay, well, I mean, we're getting into a whole different. You've taken this press conference completely out of context, and I now refuse to be Laura Kane for any more time. That's a good place to finish.
I can see that.
Good place to finish.
Let's hope no incidents gather around. Remember last year there was the Jordan Clark umpire dissent. Where's dissent gone, by the way? That might be another air raid for a few weeks.
Oh, I like it. And I'm really disappointed that we didn't do Tassie in the air raid, but I think we had to give them a week off. I think we had to give the Taswegians a week off.
If Tassie get gather round, will you come?
If Tassie get gather round, I don't know what I'll do. I need a week to consider that. Thank you for joining us on the Air Raid Siren. Go well in South Australia, Mitchell, and we'll see everyone back in the studio next week.